Brady numbers. No, just kidding.
That's not fantasy worthy for sure. So
no, not even worth.
Are there any other quarterbacks that you can think of that you should be worthy starting? How about Teddy Bridgewater, the Vikings quarterback?
If your quarterback's on bye, sure. But otherwise, I would not start him if your main quarterback.
Right. I wouldn't start him this week because it's going to be his first week.
He is playing a bad defense, though, in the Falcons.
Yeah, but, the thing is, the Falcons, if it's a shootout, the Falcons will win.
The problem is he might not have a run game. We'll see how Matt Asiata does.
Right. Yeah,
because Peterson's gone. They just cut Jerome Simpson.
That's right, they did.
And Cordell Patterson has been a terrible route runner this year.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to running backs. Who are some of the running backs that you should definitely be starting this week?
Doug Martin against the Steelers.
I like that.
Yes.
The Steelers' run defense has been awful this year.
But Doug Martin has been awful this year as well, so that's kind of an iffy. Bobby Rainey's had better games than Doug Martin.
The thing is, though, if if Tampa Bay is going to win a game, I think a big part of that will be Doug Martin. So
I think in RB2 I'd put Lorenzo Taffarero.
That's the Ravens guy, right?
Yes, the Ravens guy that came out of nowhere with 91 yards last week.
Yeah, that's not a bad bet either.
I'd probably start Matt Asiata against the Falcons.
How about in the NFC North? Should we be starting Reggie Bush this week? Because he had a pretty good game last week. And, is he going to start to turn things around here? Or
He's
is he
playing the
just
Jets run D, though. They had the best run D in the NFL.
If Forte is going to get shut down by that defense, I don't think they're going to have an issue with Reggie Bush unless they start passing to Bush, which him and Joe Kay are sort of splitting receptions on that one.
Right.
And it's in New York, so it'll be even tougher.
Yeah.
Bush's game last week was only okay. It wasn't, great.
No, it wasn't great, but, he did have a nice touchdown.
I just hope for Detroit's sake that Jeter Magic's out of the air by the time I get there.
I'm sure it will be. It's the Jets. That's the issue. Although Stafford, a lot of times, he doesn't do so well against the bad teams or the teams that he should be beating.
Yeah.
Well, it's also usually when he's on the road because he's not playing at his dome.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot easier to throw in a dome for sure.
And when it's home.
Right.
Let me just sneak one in there for
go ahead.
flex, for the flex position, if you have a flex. Ahmad Bradshaw, man. Seriously.
Yeah, he was a boss last week.
And he's going to do it again this week against the Tennessee Titans. Go on.
All right, wide receivers. Who should we be starting wide receiver-wise? Of course, Jeffrey and Marshall for the Bears are always a good option, especially with
Marshall.
Do we know if he's still
questionable?
Did he practice today?
Is he questionable?
He did not practice today. He's listed as questionable.
Okay, so he's listed as questionable. That's not a good sign going into the weekend.
Yeah, it's not a good sign if you don't practice on Friday.
Right.
Or Thursday.
Well, because on Saturday all they have is a walkthrough. They'll do a quick walkthrough Saturday. It's not a full-on. It's not a targeted practice. It's just going to be a walkthrough of the game. So that's a little interesting to see if he'll play.
I also think we should have a quick debate because Matthew Berry put Matt Forte and Eddie Lacy on his love. I don't know if I would love Eddie Lacy this week.
He hasn't had a 40 rush yard game yet this year, and the Bears' run D actually did a pretty decent job last week.
Although, is he due for a big game? And if he is due for a big game, it probably would happen against Bears' defense, right?
I know, but would you play him against Forte?
I don't know. Ego Ferguson and Will Sutton both shut down the run at the end of the game.
Yeah, they did.
Because Forte, I think he's going to be able to handle the Green Bay.
Historically,
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
Defense.
Well, for Forte, though, historically, he hasn't done that great against the Packers.
True. Although he did do good last year when they were in Lambeau.
In Chicago when he had the 3 touchdowns.
In Chicago.
Yeah. Remember that one game that Forte had 1 rushing yard against Green Bay?
That was ridiculous. I do remember that. Yeah.
That was bad. I'd start Forte just because he was probably a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. And, you just look like an idiot if you're benching your first-round pick.
For instance, I'll be starting him. I started him last week, too. I started him over Chris Ivory, so I had them playing against each other, but I started him over Ivory, and they ended up getting about the same amount of points. I think Ivory had 9 and Forte had 8, so I didn't really lose anything there. I was already going to win, but I'm definitely going to be starting Forte this week. I'm hoping he can have a big breakout game because he hasn't done much these first 3 weeks.
And going back to wide receivers, let's get back on that.
Yeah.
When's Keenan Allen going to finally break through?
I don't know, man.
I drafted him in my other league.
Too.
I got so mad when I played him last week.
He's riding the bench on my league, and I put Andrew Hawkins in, which is a great pickup, by the way, because he's getting almost 7 looks a game, usually around 5 catches.
And Allen was a high pick for you, too.
Yeah, he was. He was like...
Well, he had such a great season
4.
last year.
I think he was round 4 for me.
I mean, he was a big reason, and of course, he scored 2 touchdowns in their first round of the playoffs last year, right? I forget who they were playing.
The Bengals.
Yeah, against the Bengals. They went into Cincinnati, and they shut them down.
Another top play wide receiver that sort of goes under the radar is DeAndre Hopkins. The guy has a lot of talent. He's big. Perfect setup for Andre, of course, is going to grab the best defensive cornerbacks and safeties. So DeAndre is sort of left with the secondary guys.
And aren't the Texans making a quarterback change this week? Or are they still riding Fitzpatrick?
Who is their backup? Who's their second?
Tom Savage. And Ryan Mallett.
I'm assuming they're going to go with Fitzpatrick then, right?
I would start Mallett. Being with Tom Brady for so long.
Yeah, that's a good point.
How'd that go with Castle? Or that what was the other guy that got a starting gig because he took over for Brady? Was it Mallett?
No, Mallett hasn't been started. Well, Matt Flynn got the gig after one good game when they benched Rodgers.
Yeah, I think that's that's who I was thinking of. Okay, before we do an update, let's go quickly on tight ends because I know the tight end position it's scarce as it is. But
someone in our league has both
starting.
Yeah, someone in our league has both Graham and Gronk.
Yeah,
nice.
I mean that's lucky and unlucky.
He
for
had
him.
to go like 3-4, maybe 2-3.
I think 2-3.
That's too early for tight ends for my blood.
He's got one of them in his flex.
And you got to feel kind of dumb when you could have picked up Donnell off the waiver wire. I mean,
yep. That's what I did.
That's just the way fantasy football is.
Pretty much.
Everything's hindsight.
Now, who else is a good start this week as far as tight ends are concerned?
Martellus Bennett.
That is definitely a good start, especially after the 2 touchdown game he had against the Jets.
Yes, Martellus Bennett's been a monster lately.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's because everyone was double covering Brandon Marshall, and that left Martellus Bennett wide open in the end zone on his 2 catches, pretty much.
Well, the first one, he was in double coverage.
Right.
So he caught in the back of the end zone.
Yes, that's right.
I'll actually go with 2 more tight ends. They're on the same team: Kobe Fleener and Dwayne Allen.
That's a good choice.
Well, Ryan, I know you like Kobe Fleener.
Yeah, well, I dropped him.
You traded for him, didn't you?
No, I dropped him and added Larry Donnell.
I don't think there's been a single trade in our league.
I don't think there has.
Has there even been any mixed up because there's so many leagues in my brain?
Has there been any trade proposals even?
I don't think so.
I haven't gotten one. I
haven't gotten one either. I was expecting someone to send me one for Bennett.
I think everyone's pretty content with their team as far as this point is concerned. It's still early, but I think everyone's pretty content with their teams.
I still feel like I'm going to win the championship, so...
Well, you are 1-2 instead of 2-1.
Yep, it'll change, baby. I'm going to come back.
3-0. 3-0 with the most points scored in the league.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Ryan Risky's 3-0. Then my brother is also 3-0.
Taking Calvin Johnson with the first overall pick.
That's just crazy. Crazy talk.
All right, we're going to take an update. We'll come back. We're going to finish up some people you should be starting. We'll also get into some people you should be sitting as well. But first, an update. Welcome back to Fantasy Fanatics on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
I'm Andrew Freeman.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
All right, let's get right back into it.
Antonio Gates might also be a good tight end to start.
True.
Antonio Gates
he's
is a good
due for
option.
a better game than his 1 catch game last week.
And you might want to look out for Delaney Walker because he blew it up last week.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, before we get into the sits, just real quick, any defenses you can think of that you should definitely be starting this week.
San Diego. We said the same thing. Yes. Chargers D.
I agree with the San Diego pick for sure.
I mean, Bortles might be able to keep them from scoring double-digit points, but they're going to still have around 9 or 8 points.
Mm-hmm. Is there anybody else? Because I know there's a lot of teams. Well, not a lot of teams, but there's some teams on bye this week. But so, of course, if you want to have a defense play and your defense is on bye week, is there anyone you should pick up? besides the Chargers D.
Detroit's defense has been one of the best fantasy-wise this year.
Yeah, they have.
The New England defense has been great, although I'm pretty sure their stats are mostly up by that 4-interception game.
Yeah.
Have you guys been let down by the 49ers defense? Do any of you guys have them on your fantasy team?
No, I don't pick the 49ers D.
Because
I don't have them.
I think I have them on most of my leagues, and I've been like, good Lord. Please.
Yeah.
Do something.
Right. A
sack, an interception,
but they're
forced
still
fumble.
highly owned in the leagues. I think they're owned by 80-something% of the people, so they're still holding on to them.
Well, because they're probably a higher pick. In my league, someone took the Seattle defense in the 6th round.
The 6th round. I think
ridiculous.
we had that issue in our league. Someone picked him up 5th round or some crazy.
Right.
You're like, really? You think they're going to score more than Sproles or Reggie Bush or something like that?
Yeah, I mean,
in one of my friends' leagues, someone took a kicker with the first pick of the 3rd round.
Yeah, I'll take Hushka.
I'll take Steven Hauschka.
He hasn't even been that great.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to look too much into defenses, but let's move on real quick to some people you should be sitting. Just overall, whether it be quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, who should you be sitting out this week?
I'm sitting. This is going to be controversial.
Are you going to start Keenan Allen?
Yeah.
Give him another chance?
No, not for 1 or 2 weeks until. Well, they are playing Jacksonville, so
that's the thing.
I'll probably be playing him.
And you can't afford to go to 1-3 right now.
I'll be benching Tom Brady. Tell you the truth,
he's been horrible this year.
Bad. He's averaging 210 yards and 1 touchdown per game.
There was a game last year, I think it was against the Dolphins, he had 114 passing yards.
Man.
He's just not the same.
He couldn't even score against the Raiders.
He might be past his time.
Well, remember, he said before the season he'll retire when he sucks.
Yeah, well, that time is now.
That's coming up. Right? Yeah. Okay, anybody else as far as maybe wide receivers? I'm a guy that can get a lot of points but won't this week.
Wide receivers.
Brandon Marshall is a big candidate for that. I'm still going to start him in the league that I have him.
Mm-hmm. You would start him even though he didn't practice on Friday.
He didn't practice on Friday the week they played the 49ers.
It's true. That's a game-time decision.
Although he didn't do much last week, though.
No, he didn't.
Other than having a touchdown called back.
Right, he had a touchdown called back because, Hanson
Although last week
right?
he also did miss a quarter with that injury. He did go to the locker room.
Yeah, he did. Is Alshon Jeffrey a better start this week than Brandon Marshall?
Yeah, I would say so.
I would agree.
I would even put, if you have flex and you're looking for a guy, I'd even put Santonio Holmes. If he's not on the field, Santonio Holmes is a good pickup.
That's true. He could be due for a big game, too. He's a great 4th option for the Bears.
Yeah.
Especially if they're playing a team like the Packers, they're going to be covering Jeffrey and Marshall like crazy, and that leaves a guy like Holmes open.
And then you still got Martellus Bennett and Forte.
Yeah, you still got Forte. I'm really hoping Forte can continue to be good. I know he hasn't done that well this year, but he should definitely be able to.
How many first-round picks in our league have been really bad so far?
Poo. Yeah,
a lot of them. Charles, AP, LaShawn, Forte.
Well, I feel bad for everyone who ended up with Adrian Peterson.
But
now
I remember he was the number 1 guy going into fantasy this year. I remember he was the auto pick. I had the first overall pick. He would have been the auto pick if I didn't pick Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, I remember that.
It didn't go down to the very
that
end.
That was our highlight. Number 1 pick.
You can hear that in our commercial too coming up.
8 seconds left. I guess it's going to be Calvin Johnson. What? But someone that I'm not just benching. I'm actually totally taking off my team is Riley Cooper.
Okay,
I said good day, sir.
All right. We're going to take a break now. We are going to come back, and we're going to have our NFL Week 4 picks. You don't want to miss that.
Yeah.
All of us will be involved with that. And then also we will have, we'll tell you who won NFL Week 3. So stick around to Fantasy Fanatics, SportsTownChicago.com.
I would swallow my pride, I would choke on the rise, but
welcome back to Fantasy Fanatics on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
I'm Andrew Freeman.
I'm Ryan Risky, and somehow, Freeman, you're 1 and 2 in every single one of your fantasy leagues.
Only on ESPN.com. I'm cursed. Pretty sure.
Okay, before we get into our picks, let's real quick go over some sleepers. Ryan Risky's going to handle QBs, I believe, or is that Andrew? That's
I got the QBs.
Okay. Go ahead and tell us who you think.
Sleeper, I'd probably go with